I want to be able to call to order this public hearing of the Los Angeles County Commission on Human Relations. This is one of several of our public hearings on policing and human relations. This one in the 4th Supervisory District. So welcome everyone this morning. My name is Isabel Dunny and I'm the president of the LA County Commission on Human Relations.
This is the only place I can be.
And I'm a professor at law at Southwestern Law School, and I have the privilege and honor of presiding over today's hearing. So the first thing I want to do is thank all of you who have come out this morning. It's Saturday, I know that. It's cold, I know that too. And so I really appreciate your dedication to come out to speak about these important matters. The other thing I'd like to do is I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners to go ahead and just introduce themselves briefly, personally, to each of you, starting with Commissioner Montaño.
Eleanor Montaño, born here in Long Beach, and next door to neighbor now in Wilmington, but I'm Duncan Abbey's appointee. Before that I was Green Gables appointee, and I've been in St. David for many years now.
Leanne King, and I'm also representing the 4th District. It's pretty long. Suzanne Cummings from the 4th District.
I'm Molina Abdullah, and I'm with the 2nd District, appointed for the 2nd District, and I chair this committee.
My name is Cynthia Anderson Barker, and I was appointed by Hilda Solis.
Hi, my name is Ashley O, and I represent Survey District 5.
And seated next to me is our Assistant Executive Director, Elena Halpert-Schultz. We couldn't do anything, and I want to thank the staff up front, as well as others who you see floating around who have made this and other hearings possible. So let me just give a little bit of background. The Commission is holding this public hearing on policing issues because policing issues, of course, have been in the forefront of our county as well as national news. And our commission has been working on policing issues going really back to the 1943 Zoot Suit riots. But we issued a report back in 1965 after the Watts Rebellion. When the 50th anniversary of that rebellion came up, we decided that it was important to take some stock in how policing relations were going on in our county, and to hear from community members and community groups directly about their views on the status of policing relations in their particular districts. One of our strategic priorities for our 3-year period is specifically to increase fairness and equity in the county's criminal justice system. And so today is the 3rd of 6 public hearings that we've been holding. We are here today. We're here today because we want to hear from all of you. We want to hear what your personal experiences have been with law enforcement. We want to hear what your suggestions are for increasing fairness and equity in policing. We want to hear your ideas for building and or maintaining positive relationships between the police and communities. And so after this hearing, we'll have 2 more in the remaining supervisory districts. The next one is in the Watts area of Los Angeles on Saturday, January 28th, in the Watts Labor Community Action Committee, and you can see our staff for specific details on the time and place for that one, the next one, and we will also have a particular hearing just for law enforcement. Our desire was not to have law enforcement at these community hearings, so we have a special one for them, and if you want to attend that, please see our staff for the specifics of that, sign up to get the information. The results of this hearing and additional information will be put into a commission report, which will include recommendations that we hope to receive from all of you, and we've already been hearing from other community groups and members. It's important to know that, we are an official body of the county, so our role is fact-finding, and making recommendations to the Board of Supervisors and other agencies. So we don't have the authority to force them to do anything, although we want to. And so we are really relying and leaning on all of you to take the kind of concern and interest that brought you out this morning to continue on, indeed, to put the pressure on the authorities about whatever recommendations that come from you through us to them. We don't handle individual cases, but I'm happy to say that we have law students here, some from my own school, working with the National Lawyers Guild, who will be happy to help anybody who wants to file an individual case against individual police officers over any particular issue that you've experienced. I saw some students up here. There they are. And I think the way we want to do this is, if you've got concerns, is there a place you want people to gather?
There's a table outside, but they should flag a law student.
Okay, law students, wave your hands again. Okay, there they are.
Yes.
So flag them, because what we're going to do is try to get a critical mass of people, a couple of you together who want to do the individual complaint, and then they'll take you to another space where all of you will be able to get that individual help. After the hearings, we'll be spending time to distill, and then we'll collaborate with you and other community groups on whatever the findings ultimately will be. So at this time, what I'd like to do is turn the mic over to Commissioner Melina Abdullah, who's already introduced herself to her. She is the chairperson of our Policing Relations Committee, and really has been the driving force behind our commission's decision to organize these hearings in the community. Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Gunning. So welcome everyone. We're very thankful to have you here. We're very thankful to our anchor organizations also for partnering with us to have these hearings. So if you are with an anchor org, please raise your hands. Our community orgs are here, and we want to thank you for the work that you've done in helping us to get these hearings together. So what we wanted to do is just kind of frame what we're hoping for with these hearings. We want to recognize that communities are experts in their own experiences, right? And so the goal, as Commissioner Gunning has shared, is to collect your stories, collect your narratives, collect your experiences, to put them into the official record of what's happening with policing in the County of Los Angeles, and also recognize that LA County does have its own record on policing that has not been as well documented as we'd like it to be. So we're trying to make sure that we document it. But the second thing that we'd like to do is, we are the Human Relations Commission, so we really want to lift up how public safety, what your ideas are for making public safety kind of a more community engaged process. So we really want you to be visionary. We really want you to make recommendations for any changes you'd like to see. So that's what this space is for, and that's also why we've asked, we have not invited law enforcement to be in this space, because we also know people sometimes feel restrained when law enforcement is present. So this is supposed to be a community space where you can genuinely and safely share your stories. And so that's what we'd like to have here today. So your stories and your recommendations lifted up. I want to also say that we're trying to find points of entry where we can begin to shift policy. As Commissioner Gunning has shared, we are not a policy-making body. We do, however, make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, which is a policy-making body. And so that's also the goal. So the goal is not just to have you kind of say things on the record, but then think about how we can take your recommendations and experiences and make recommendations based on those. Does that make sense to everyone? Good, okay. And so thank you again for coming. We want to again uplift that if you want to file official complaints or make commendations around any law enforcement unit, I should have, please see one of the law students and they'll help you put those complaints on file, okay? Thank you very much for coming, and we hope that this is an engaging and important experience for you. And we're going to start, I think, you're going to introduce them, but we're also going to have folks who are experts in the community experts in the area of policing offering their experiences.
Yes, but I do want to at least do a little bit of the ground rule stuff. One thing first is that if you want to speak, what we're asking is that you fill out speaker forms. Like this. And I believe the staff is outside there with those forms. And you'll see that it'll ask you for your name, and if you've got a specific incident, which is really the focus that we want, to actually put down date, place, the officer or at least police department involved, that sort of a thing. We'll be encouraging you, if that's how you're going to testify, to put that up front right away. We'll be asking you to be here to speak directly in the mic so that we can record, because this is going to be recorded, everything that you say. The time limit for our organizations who will be coming up, we've asked them to speak for about 5 minutes. We've been asking community folks to speak for about 3 minutes. The point, of course, is to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to share what their experiences are and their recommendations are. If it turns out that we have more time and people want to come back again and speak, please do so. We are going to have to end at 1 because that's our contract in terms of the recording. But up until then, we want to make sure that everybody who wants to speak gets on the record gets an opportunity to do so. In terms of speaking, I just want to underscore that, of course, I know you're here to speak on very important issues, so of course we want you to be as accurate and truthful as you possibly can, and most importantly, respectful. We know that these issues are going to generate a lot of great emotion. They should. And all we ask is that you maintain a respectful attitude towards us as commissioners, towards each other, even if you disagree, and make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to actually speak about these important matters. Cell phones, please turn to vibrate, which reminds me I've got to reach to do that myself. Again, this is being recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, staff also has, you don't have to, you can both go to our Lawyers Guild law students if you want to file a specific complaint, but if you, or commendation, excuse me, but also if you don't want to have a particular complaint filed, we also, as staff, have a form for you to articulate your concerns, your recommendations, even if you don't want to actually be on the record. Again, I think I mentioned already that you can see our staff to provide your information so that you can be kept abreast of what's happening. So let's start our speakers. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm about to do that now. I'm about to introduce the folks who are coming forward first. I have Reverend Mitra Ranima from the Interfaith Council. Come on down over here. Alicia Morales, who is from the Immigrants' Rights Coalition, Long Beach Immigrants' Rights Coalition, will be following her. Dawn Modkins from Black Lives Matter LA. Excuse me. Long Beach, of course. Black Lives Matter Long Beach. And then Hamid Khan from the Stop LAPD Coalition. So those folks will come up first, and then I'll start to call people. Once Hamid Khan comes up, I'll begin to start giving the names of the other people that I've got on the list so that you can begin to position yourself to come forward and to speak. Okay? No problem. Go ahead, Reverend, please.
Thank you for holding this space of reflection and truth-telling. I'm the Reverend Mitra Ranama, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Long Beach, and I'm honored I was asked by community leaders to offer a clergy voice to help shape today. I've been in this conversation about government and police and violence in Long Beach for several years. I have, as many of us have, felt the grief at the loss of life here and across our country. I've attended vigils and rallies about issues that range from officers acting as immigration control to the death of unarmed youth, to concerns about gun control and various other gatherings. I've attended organizational meetings and police community forums and watched videos of our Long Beach Citizens Complaint Commission and been in conversation directly with our city's law enforcement. I've also personally called upon the police when I needed help, and I hope to still be able to do so after today. It's from these places that I offer my thoughts. I've heard three primary narratives from our law enforcement that I think are at the core of the disconnection in human relationship. The first and probably the most painful is this narrative that the problem is about our marketing. It's this narrative that says, well, if parents and mothers would just start teaching their kids that the police are the good guys, then we can change the culture and work together. Kids should look up to officers and want to even maybe become an officer. And at the very least, don't run, hands up, and do everything an officer says. If we can just teach that, the narrative tells us everything will be okay. It does not address the permanent mark that a death in any town makes on the hearts and minds of all of us across the country. It's this marketing narrative. It's a tool of distraction from the reality that there are deep gashes in the fabric of our society that exist and go back long before any of us were alive. Those gashes are bleeding, and I believe they must be named again and again by our public institutions before they even become scars. The second narrative that I've heard in this is a response to people who are trying to reconcile their loss and rage and are asking for transparency. And the police and the complaint commission and our government leaders respond with some version of, we can't talk about it because we can't share personnel records. And I understand very much in my life the need to keep private personnel records. And I understand also that in any institution, misconduct happens. I believe that will always be true. But I think the response, we can't